think about what they did with Joe Biden. Oh, he's never going to pardon his family. He's too stand up. He's too great a guy. What did he do? He pardoned everyone, for goodness sakes. Family over country. I love this title. Michael Goodwin, really good columnist in the New York Post. Or Joe Biden's corrupt last act as president proved his family hustle always superseded the truth, the law, and the country. Imagine, he writes, if you were one of those gullible people who believed mentions of the Biden crime family were nothing but some Republican fever dream and a sinister plot to smear an honest, devoted father, his surviving son, and other relatives. I mean, he told us himself. Joe Biden said he wasn't going to pardon his son. And he also said he didn't believe in preemptive pardons. He actually said that back as Donald Trump was leaving office. Donald Trump never pardoned anyone in a preemptive way. This is like uncharted territory, guys. Look at the whole list. James Biden, Sarah Jones Biden, Valerie Biden Owens, John T. Owens, the Owens family, related to the Biden family. You get Francis Biden. Oh, Fauci, we're going to put Fauci in there because God knows... I won't go there today, but, you know, Fauci. And then Milley, Liz Cheney, because Cheney, Schiff, Kinzinger, other members and staff of the J6 committee were up to no good. So he pardons everyone preemptively. They actually haven't been accused of a crime. They're not guilty of anything. So what are you doing with the preemptive pardons? I mean, this is like uncharted legal territory. This is weird, okay? And yes, he has completely tarnished his image. We know exactly the kind of guy Joe Biden is, exactly who he is, thanks to this.
It's just unseemly. If you're going to do it, have the courage to do it in the light of day and explain it to the American people. It's a stain on his legacy to do it like this.
You bet it is. And even CNN's saying it. That's John King over at CNN. A huge stain. But here's my question. What happens now? So they can't get themselves in any more trouble because they have been preemptively pardoned. So if Congress were to open up an investigation, because don't you think we ought to know? I mean, you got money coming in from all kinds of places into Joe Biden and family's bank account. Forgive me, not Joe. It mainly went to Hunter and all of the offshoots of the Biden family. So shouldn't we know what happened? I mean, if Access was actually for sale, don't we need to know that so that we can make sure that it never, ever happens again? If I'm Congress, I'm launching an investigation and I'm asking people. And by the way, you have to testify in that case. You can't not testify. You absolutely have to testify and you have to tell the truth. So now the question becomes, does Congress initiate an investigation? My vote is yes. Donald Trump was asked about this on Handy's program just last night. Let's take a listen.
She should have dropped out. At least she wouldn't have that moniker.
Before I go to the economy and foreign policy, as long as you brought up this topic, Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer, Adam Schiff, who got a preemptive pardon. All these people that got pardoned. Anthony Fauci, did he know that NIH money through the EcoHealth Alliance was funding the Wuhan Virology Lab? There seems to be text and messages and emails that went back and forth. You talk about the Unselect Committee, as you call it, the January 6th committee. They had a predetermined outcome. General Milley, all these people, the Biden family members. Joe Biden ran and said he would never do preemptive pardons. It was an issue that came up when you were leaving in your first time.
He thought, he heard that I was going to do it. I didn't want to do it. I was given the option. They said, sir, would you like to pardon everybody, including yourself? I said, I'm not going to pardon anybody. We didn't do anything wrong. And we had people that suffered. They're incredible patriots. We had people that suffered. You had Bannon put in jail. You had Peter Navarro put in jail. You had people that suffered. And far worse than that, they've lost their fortunes. They've lost their whatever, their nest egg, paying it to lawyers. And those people, and people said, and they wouldn't have even taken, most of those people, they wouldn't have even taken a pardon. This guy went around giving everybody pardons. And you know, the funny thing, maybe the sad thing, is he didn't give himself a pardon. And if you look at it, it all had to do with him. I mean, the money went to him.
Should Congress investigate that?
Well, I don't know. It's, you know,
you ordered the DOJ.
I've always been, look, He didn't give himself a pardon. And he didn't give some other people a pardon that needed it. And I heard Schiff went to him and just begged him for a pardon, because Schiff is a crook. Yeah. Schiff is a crooked guy. He's a crooked politician. He made up the story about Russia. He totally made it up. He was a storyteller. And then after he made it up, they found out that there was a tape of the conversation made by, I guess, the State Department. I don't know. When you make calls, they make tapes sometimes, not all the time.
He was the one talking to the Russians.
So he, in the meantime, made up the conversation, totally made it up about quid pro quo. There was no quid pro quo, there was a perfect call. Tim Scott was the first one to come. He read it. He said, "This is a perfect call. What are you doing? You're impeaching a man for a perfect call." It was Schiff, Hillary, the whole group. You know what? Schiff is just a bad, sick guy. And he went to Biden and he demanded a pardon because he thought he did something. He knew he did something.
Benny Thompson won the chairman of that committee.
Benny Thompson destroyed, along with that unselect committee, destroyed all of the work that took place over 2 years. You know why? It showed that I was right.
We're back with the 45th and 47th.
That was great. That was just great. Again, when I'm talking about authenticity and transparency and just realness, he talks like a real person. Or he doesn't talk like some little wind-up doll. He's like, that Schiff, that sick Schiff. I mean, look at what they put him through. Okay, look at what they put the country through. They're the ones that started all this. For goodness sakes, the Russia thing all came from Hillary Clinton's opposition research, bought and paid for by Hillary Clinton. She went through, multiple layers. You had the law firm, which then went out and contracted Fusion GPS, which was, I guess, a bunch of ex-Wall Street Journal reporters that were investigative reporters, and they're digging up dirt, and they're just making up dirt, right? They went out and hired somebody who, by the way, the U.S. government suspected of being a Russian spy. How do you like that? To come up with, it was Christopher Steele who hired him. Forgive me. We got more layers, right? Layers, so that plausible deniability, Hillary Clinton looked clean. But this is all from her camp. The Russia thing, what a total distraction, what a mess that we had to spend all that time on. And then the Hunter Biden laptop, how dare you say that that's Hunter's, because 51X spooks, they told you it's not. That was led by Antony Blinken, our Secretary of State, who was trying to angle to get Biden in there because he wanted to become Secretary of State. Former Deputy Director of the CIA, Mike Morrell. By the way, thank you for the correction, guys. I got that wrong. I was thinking John Radcliffe in his old position was National Intelligence. John Radcliffe getting approved there. He is now officially the new director of the CIA. But you understand where I'm going. I mean, these people were just a bunch of hacks that wanted their team in charge. And I'm like, you talk about Donald Trump being the fascist, Donald Trump being the authoritarian. What do you think you all were? All right, so we need clarity there. And no, he didn't pardon himself. The Supreme Court, though, has said, you can be pardoned for crimes as president. I don't know about VP, though. I mean, some of those crimes might have been committed while he was VP. If his son, right, he was in charge of Ukraine policy, don't forget, and his son got that plum gig, what was it, 60, 80K a month on a board? Like, nobody makes that on a board for Burisma. And what did he do? As vice president in charge of Ukraine policy, Joe Biden Sr. went over there and said, we got to get rid of this guy who was the investigator who was looking into Burisma, the company that his son worked for at the time. I'd be curious to know a little bit more about that. I mean, we got Romania in there, you got China. For some reason, they're all about green energy, green here in the USA, but they were pushing for all these traditional energy types in China, in Romania, in Ukraine, you name it. I mean, this is corrupt, messed up stuff. I mean, at least Joe Biden, forgive me, I was going to say Barack Obama had the decency to wait until he left office before he tried to make a killing on Netflix and speeches and stuff. The Clintons, too, although she sullied her name when she went back as Secretary of State because, her husband was still running the Clinton Foundation, and you wonder what kind of stuff was going on then. But I do think the most egregious of all is one Hunter Biden. And we do need to get to the bottom of that because a bunch of stuff happened. I still want answers. And I think in order to have a clean slate moving forward for everybody, like this is not partisan. Believe me, it's not. I surprise you sometimes because I'm an honest Abe who will just give you my view of the world, which doesn't always coincide with the MAGA position or the Trump position, where I will always tell you what I think. And I'm telling you, just in my heart, what I know, we need to get to the bottom of this because this can never happen again. It is not right to penalize someone and to go after them with lawfare, because they are your political enemy. It is wrong.